in. Mike Wood.
Mr Speaker, my honourable friend, the member for Bolsover, rightly said that a government is to choose, and I think one of the reasons for the result of the last general election was that voters knew that this government was the one more likely to take the difficult choices that were needed, because the options on offer, the choices we have to make, are not always between the good and the perfect. For many of the choices that have to be made, they are really between which is the less bad option. And as a Conservative, raising taxation is certainly a option, not only because clearly it does breach a manifesto pledge, but because in itself it is both economically and morally wrong. It's economically wrong because higher taxes in the longer term will dampen growth and prosperity, and it's morally wrong because it means taking money away from those who've worked hard to spend elsewhere, and so it needs to be kept at a minimum. But if raising taxation is a bad option, then surely the alternative, to not act, is far, far worse. Because not acting means allowing the backlogs that have built up in the NHS through this pandemic to continue, to put people's early diagnosis at risk, to delay treatments further, clearly endangering lives. It means not reforming social care that there is almost universal agreement is long overdue reform. Government after government has promised to take this on, to reform social care, put it on a sustainable footing financially. There have been endless reviews, but ultimately each time they've ended up in the too difficult box. How many of us really go a week without having an email from constituents around social care, whether it's around the quality of social care, whether it's around access to social care, top-up fees for social care, and of course how people are going to pay for it, and fear of having to sell everything that they've worked hard and saved for all of their lives. That is why something needs to be done. And if we agree that action is needed, that we need more money to be spent in the NHS to clear this backlog, and we need to reform social care, then the only decision we have to take is how can we pay for it. And I don't think in the long term that borrowing to pay for it is a sensible option. And there are very few taxes that can raise anything like enough money to meet the challenges we face. Of course it could be put on VAT, but that is clearly a much, much more regressive option, placing a disproportionate burden on the least well-off. There have been various fanciful ideas from some backbench members opposite with how basically someone else can pay for it. There's a hidden pot of money that can just be raided. It's not there. The fairest way is to have a levy on national insurance contributions, sharing the cost between employees, employers, self-employed and those who get incomes from dividends, so that those who earn more do pay more. I think the Shadow Chancellor was suggesting that perhaps it could be funded by charges on sales of land, of property, of shares. But the truth is that combined revenues from all stamp duties on land, property and shares comes to about £15 billion, nothing like enough to pay for what is needed in this. So national insurance is the fairest option. Gordon Brown was right on this one occasion that it is the most progressive option. Unlike then, of course, it was on income over 4.
Order. Order. Hugh Merriman.
Deputy Speaker, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure to sit here for the last 4 hours.